All right, here we are back at another more to it episode podcast. I am the host, as usual, Jay Moore, and I am glad to be joined by a familiar face of mine. It's just we've kind of switched roles here. He's usually introducing me. Now I'm introducing him, and we are sitting outside on the patio. We have a few fresh Coors Lights.
What hole is that we're looking
Yeah,
at?
no, that is number 5 at Lincoln Country Club.
They're going to charge me just to look at
Yeah,
it.
you're
I
right.
love them.
No, it's a beautiful sight, and it is a wonderful Sunday evening here. It's you've been at the Diamonds all day. I've spent my time at the golf course, but we have some Coors Lights and we have a microphone, and we're going to discuss the landscape of college football as of August 2nd, because there is the marker, the end
point. Yard line?
It's moving.
Yeah.
It's moving every day. And what we're gonna do today is and what I try to do best when I come on the show with you is I'm gonna try to stay in our lane. We are not doctors.
No.
We are not. But we're gonna try to decide what's best for college football, what's best for Nebraska, what potentially could be coming here in the next. I mean, it could come tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It could come a week from today, and we're just going to try to put our heads together and try to figure out what's best for college football, because we know we all love college football. We all know the economic means behind it all, not only to the city of Lincoln, but to the Big Ten Conference, to nationally, to what it comes. But so, Schmitty, when we look at all this, and I read an article last night, and it says, hey, the NCAA might be coming out and say, hey, the NCAA might not support fall football, but what does that mean for the Power Fives, the ACC, SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, ACC conferences, when they say, hey, we're not supporting it, but where does this go? What does that mean if they say, you know what, NCAA, we get it. We understand that you do not want to take on responsibility for football in the fall, but we all know the economic means behind it all, and they say, hey, you know what? We get it, but we need to make some money. We know what it means to our universities, our financial backings. You do what you have to do, but we need to do what we have to do. And I don't know if I want to say fallout for all of this, because I think fallout is kind of a bad term, but like it's interesting to see what could happen if this comes to kind of a fork in the road where NCAA says we don't want to do it, and the Power 5 says we do want to do it. So we're going to kind of split ways.
Jay, thanks for the invite to Casa de Moore. It is nice to hang out with your brother. The patio's gorgeous. Microphone's phenomenal. And the More To It podcast, one of my favorite listen-tos. I mean that sincerely. This is, you know what, it's coming to a head. It is. And when you look at what is going to happen the week of August 3rd, Monday, tomorrow, you're going to have some sort of either declaration by the Big Ten, we're not playing football, or yes, we are moving forward to play football. And that's been based on the medical advice by the folks up at UNMC. The academia world has put their heads out and said, here's our 2 cents on it. The athletic directors have been heard. The folks that are in the dean's office are going to make the call. And they're going to make the call based on what medical advice is told to them. And what they're going to be told, I think, is be patient. Let's give it a little bit more time to breathe. So let's push back our season. I think if you're going to play, let's kick off September 5th. Let's let Nebraska, let's let Penn State, let's let X, Y, and Z from the Big Ten. Big Ten, assuming it's all good in their state, start their padded stuff August 7th, or at least get into fall camp. What I think is going to happen based on the Pac-12 and what the SEC's decided, I think you're going to have an August 20, late August, mid-August, start to fall camp, and I think you're going to see an end of September start date if they decide to play ball for the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's what's
no inside info. Just the Big Ten doesn't want to be the first heavy hitter to come out and say we're going to go forward.
Well, but the Big Ten was kind of a heavy hitter and come out and say, hey, we're going to play a 10-game conference schedule. They're the first one to kind of lay it out there. The Pac-12 was quick to follow. Now the SEC has followed. Big 12 has not come out to say this. We've known that Oklahoma is now pushing things up to
week zero.
Here Oklahoma's going to play August 28th, 29th, to a non-conference schedule. We have not heard much from the ACC but Notre Dame's but they are playing a non-conference, no non-conference, but Notre Dame is part of that conference schedule.
Yeah, ACC's got their schedule out. They've reconfigured things out. They have their 10-game schedule. So you have schedules out from the Pac-12, and you have schedules out from the ACC.
Right.
And what you're waiting on is the SEC schedule, you're waiting on the Big Ten schedule, and you're waiting on the Big 12 schedule.
Right. So this is interesting. So this is what is very intriguing to me, because for many, many years, we've had many documentaries on this. We've had many discussions, like you and I have many discussions on this through the radio at Hail Varsity. The NCAA is kind of the middleman in all this, and I'm just speaking specifically on the game of football. When it comes to basketball, NCAA is a huge factor. College baseball, huge factor.
They control everything but football.
Yeah. So now like I said, we're coming to a fork in the road here where they don't really have skin in the game.
They don't want to be held liable.
Right. They don't have skin in the game, or they don't have a guy in the fight. They don't. They're just kind of associated just because. Like, hey, yeah, we're here, and like, yeah, it's great, but like when it comes down to it, it comes down to the conferences, and it comes down to bowl games and TV revenue. So this is what's interesting. See what shakes out after this. And NCAA says, hey, we're not supporting it, but what comes down to this, as after all. And they could say, hey, as a Power 5 conference, our 5 conferences, we're you know what, we are going to take things into our own hands, and we're going to attack it, because we know that and I will speak on the Big Ten, because I don't know what the SEC TV money is. I don't know what the Big Ten money is, the Big 12 money is. I don't know what the ACC money is, but I do know as the Big Ten money is, it's over $50 million per team. And that's a lot of money to operate, and that funds a lot of the economics at each 14 universities. So what shakes out here is very, very interesting. But it's going to be interesting to me to see if all 5 conferences can come together and say, hey, can we all start at the same time?
Isn't going to happen, because you have the Big 12 that wants to move forward and kick off on week 0. They'll have their one tune-up game, and then they have a 10-team league. So where the Big 12's worried is they wanted their 10-game conference schedule to match what the Pac-12's doing, to match what the Big 10's doing, to match what the SEC's doing, to match what the ACC's doing. They can't be short. So they're going to have their conference games +1, so they get to 10. At least that's their plan.
Right.
Week 0, it looked like the Big 10 was going to start September 5th. They still might, but I think they're not going to be, because it's really the SEC and the Big 10 that are the power brokers. The ACC's nice, and they're kind of in third place. But
and it's nice to have Notre Dame now. Like, hey, we have this team kind of.
They're now dating.
Right. They're correct. It's like we have this carrot dangling here. We have Notre Dame. We're kind of,
Notre Dame's going to help the ACC out with some NBC TV money.
Right.
And the ACC is going to help Notre Dame out with a schedule. We can provide you with X number of games. You're going to get Clemson at home. You're going to get Florida State at home. You'll play North Carolina and Chapel Hill. And you're going to have Clemson, and you're going to have Florida State COVID permitting, of course, on NBC. So there's your revenue. Yeah, I mean, the NCAA, I mean, I was looking up some numbers here, and you've got $10.3 billion. That's the revenue number generated among NCAA athletics. That's nearly $8 billion that's used to subsidize other sources at schools across the association. They have autonomy accounting for 73% of those revenues. 43% of that number is what they use for spending. But the college football playoff is not NCAA sponsored or sanctioned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the playoff's the playoff. It's their own deal, and you have your New Year's Day 6. So to your point, and to your topic point, yeah, if the NCAA says, you know what, end of this week, we're going to cancel all fall championships, then you have Power 5 leagues that are going to have a decision to make. Do we break off and join our own, start our own, and go from there and just rule it? And if that happens, football pays all the bills for a lot of places, and then you're going to probably have something similar to what has been in place for the College World Series or for the volleyball championships or for the NCAA championships. You'll just have your group of 5 and you'll have your Power 5.
Yeah. So it's the domino effect here is really interesting because you hit the nail on the head. Football at 98% of the place of the schools in the Power 5 pays the bills. We can understand that Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina might flip-flop it, for basketball
schools. Yeah.
But so what does that mean? Let's just say, like, I mean, this has been, and the crazy thing is, this has been discussed with conference realignment for the last 3 to 4 years, with joining together and just saying we don't need another governing body here to say why do these 5 conferences need an NCAA to tell you what? I mean, they do not need, no one needs NCAA. They don't. It's a middleman grabbing here and just and it's in the way now we have with athletes, the college athletes being able to make money on the side, to advertise themselves, to gain social media, to do whatever. To me, it's crazy. Now you have something with a pandemic. It might phase out, which I am, as a former college athlete, am all in favor for phasing out the middleman, which is the NCAA in this situation, to better the university and the college athlete.
Let the conference commissioners
Yeah.
rule their own domain and not answer to anybody except maybe a new, let's go mafia here for a minute, and I'm not calling the conference commissioners mafia members.
Kevin Warren,
I'm not saying that at all, my friends. But you can start your own commission here, right? Like, just let the conference commissioners, all 5 of the Power 5s, get in a league, start your own thing, and rule it as you see fit. And it wouldn't be that different from the NCAA, other than the NCAA telling them no on something.
Right. But again, it's like, here's what's crazy. I mean, it's private sector versus the public sector, and you want to talk about big business, and not to be insensitive. The whole thing driving this thing is economics.
Yeah, that's why we're
here
playing.
Right. It's 100%. So you want to tell me, like, and what does these 5 power conferences have? They have the sex appeal. They have what people want to watch. The NCAA doesn't have anything. Mark Emmert, whoever you want to talk about, people don't give a shit about the NCAA.
You're a university
that
has said, no, you're an amateur. Meanwhile, we're printing money off of you. And by the way, the Pac-12 players are fed up with that.
Right. And you're great. Well, we will get to that here in a second. But people don't care about, and so people want a product. People want a performance. People want something they can bet on. People want entertainment. And who has entertainment? The Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, those conferences.
It's matchups you want to see, man.
And whether or not they're playing each other or they're playing Conference USA, Mountain West, whatever, people want to see that. So it's very, very interesting what's going to see. I think in a situation like this, and when we're judging on whether or not football is going to be played, and we all want football to be played because whether it's economics or it's one of the greatest games in America.
We want something good.
We want something. But what we're looking at right now is, I think, is a huge shift in college athletics.
Tipping point.
It's a huge tipping point. Like, the dominoes are falling, and NCAA is against this. So they might be at the end, like, trying to hold these up, and I don't know if they can hold these up.
No, there's no way. They can say their piece, but the Power Five.
They have the cards. The stack is decked.
Yeah, because it's their league. The SEC is going to do what they want.
Right.
And I think the difference here between the SEC and the Big Ten is the SEC is really not concerned as much about perception. The Big Ten is a big perception league. They know that they kick ass and take names on the athletic fields. Their football programs are incredible. Their basketball programs are big time. And those are your top two money makers. Their volleyball is incredible. But the Big Ten also likes to, they're research institutions. They're all hard as hell to get into.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not the Ivy League, but they're not far off. And they like to think of themselves probably somewhere not too distant, really related to the Ivy League academically. So they aren't going to just jump in and say, go play ball and good luck and God bless, be safe. Big Ten's going to, of all the leagues, going to be very, very cautious about what's out there in the wind. What's the perception? What are people saying about us? How are we being painted? And that is what's going to hold things up.
Yeah,
They give a damn. They give a damn about what people on Wall Street think. They give a damn about what Fortune 500 CEOs think. They care about what the 1% think.
Yeah.
Which is, it's okay, but
yeah.
That is what's part of the reason with the pause here with the Big Ten.
Yeah. Perception. That's huge. I've talked to many, many people who are, behind businesses or other things, and they've always reiterated many, many times. It's like, we understand the situation we're in, but it's the perception of doing this to be not too insensitive, or too. I'm struggling here. Lack of a better terms is just not to, say. Toughen up.
Go play ball, rub some dirt on it.
Right.
Meanwhile, by the time you're 50, the remnants, if you tested positive for COVID, is what? It could be catastrophic with your cardiovascular system, or it could be something that you got over and you're okay. We don't know.
You're right, and that's a great transition point now to get into what now we've seen the last 6 to 8 hours here with the Pac-12 conference and their players coming out and saying, listen, the risk of playing, because we don't know what
we want to be taken care of if we're going to be
correct.
If we're going to go play.
And we talked about this with economics.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the economics here, and that's 1A. But they also said they don't know what, if you do catch this, the long-term effects, and no one knows.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't hold PhDs. I'm very, very far from that. So
my wife actually wants me to catch this and see how it'd treat my lungs.
Right. Yeah, you're like a petri dish.
Yeah. Sign this. It's more life insurance. It'll keep you from snoring. So I shouldn't joke, but I don't mean to. But no, I mean it's a topic around our household, and
because you've struggled. You're a guy at risk.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. So you have to be.
She lets me know that every morning.
Yeah, you have to be very, very careful.
You're at risk,
So I'm gonna take. So this is interesting. So I want to get into this for a little bit because I've been on this podcast, and I like our last podcast with Matt Slauson and Woodhead, and we've all voiced that all three of us are towards the insensitive scale. And
there's a spectrum, and you're more
yes, correct.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, 100%. So when I view this, and they're like, "Hey, we don't know, we don't know this. We need this. We need that." But so I view this situation. I don't know how many Pac-12 players there are that are part of this. I don't know. I don't even know what schools they're from. They're from Oregon. They're from USC. They're from UCLA. So here is my stance as of August 2nd at 8 o'clock p.m. As a college athlete, and as an athlete in general, you have a very fine window to capitalize on your craft. And your craft is correlated with your age, your ability, and your ability to capitalize on what you have and what's presented with you to take advantage. And if you want to say, hey, and I'm not blaming them, and that's fine. We don't know. No one knows the long-term effects if you happen to catch COVID. No one knows. But, Schmitty, let me ask you this. If someone said you have $5 million laying in front of you 3 years down the road, would you be willing, so let's say, to play college football and you have you're playing Super Mario Brothers and you're just going around the track. You're just going. There's $5 million. All you have to do is get through it, no matter the risk. There's risks, but there's $5 million here. Are you willing to take that risk? But
it's different for everybody, and for me, I mean, I look at it, and I look at my family. I've got Junior, I have Mama, and $5 million would set them up. It would set Junior's, if he ever marries somebody.
Right. Well, I call it generational wealth.
It is. It would set up a couple of different generations managed correctly beyond us.
Right.
So I look at it and say, all right, what are we going to earn in the next 30 years before we retire, if we retire? And what's best case, what's worst case? So you just got to do the math on it. And it's like a one-time lottery payment, or do you want the 20-year deal?
Right. And
right?
It's frustrating to me because, and I don't, if I put myself, I'm 36, about to be 37, I rewind it 14, 15 years to where I'm 21, 22 years old, and this was going on. I can't put my place, I don't know how I would react, but I'd know if something was, the opportunity was there, and if I'm going into my sophomore to junior or junior to senior year, and I know I have a damn good chance to make the NFL, I need to play. Because you know why? Because if you do the math in the NFL and you talk to scouts, GMs, whatever, if you don't want to, there is a lot of people behind you that sure as hell will.
Amen.
And that's not insensitive. That's just the way it is. And that's just
supply and demand.
Yeah.
And it's the platform we're
right.
talking about. When it comes to the We Are United hashtag and the Pac-12 players that came out, there's a total of 12 guys here that ESPN is reporting. Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, UCLA, Washington State, Arizona, Oregon, and a couple of kids from Washington and one guy from Arizona State.
So one representative from each team?
Almost.
Give or take, yeah.
Nothing from SC. And, it was interesting, to your point. I mean, you got a guy that's a defensive lineman for Washington State, Lamont McDougal. And he's like, look, man, I agree with everything in this movement, fighting for health concerns, but not playing this season isn't an option for me. I got people that need to eat. So if the NCAA wants to use me as a lab rat, it is what it is.
Exactly.
And there's you're using me, you're exploiting me. I need to get something for it. There's that side of the aisle. And then there's this side of the aisle with, look, this is, you guys are not wrong with your take on that, but these are how the ground rules are laid. And for here and now, I need to showcase what I can showcase so I can get a scout to watch me against SC
right.
or Oregon up in Palouse and hopefully get drafted and then take care of my wife and my kids.
Right. And I look at it, so let's just say you're going to your senior year. You've busted your ass for 4 years. or 3 years if you didn't redshirt. You've worked your tail off to get to what it is, and you get your pre-draft, the pre-draft rankings or pre-draft scouts, and it's like, hey, you're a second or third round pick, and all of a sudden like, no, you want to no, you're not. You have to play. You need to play because if you can't, and I don't know. Let's just, if we all seen what happened this spring. I mean, the people got, in baseball and golf and all those spring sports, track and field, they were honored another year of eligibility. That's not even discussed yet, because if that happens in football and all the other fall sports, economic impact to the universities for holding another scholarships, that's another, and we don't need, that's another whole can of worms.
Well,
but let's not even but that's, the university could be like, hey, listen, we can't bear that. Like, that's a lot onto us to honor another, and especially at a place like Cal, private college, USC, where I don't know what it is to go there, $40,000-$50,000 a year. It's just another, that's another whole thing. So you need to play. You need to play. Like, it sucks to have the ability to get yourself there, and all of a sudden to be like, you've done everything you can and you don't have your platform to do it. I feel terrible for those kids that don't have the platform, that they've worked their tail off to get there, and they can't do it.
No, amen. And there's chicken or egg here, or egg conversation. And to be honest, it's tough. And you've got a mentality right now that isn't necessarily that wrong about exploitation that exists with, all right, where's my 15%? All right. I'm kind of the sales guy, so to speak, if I'm why you're tuning in to Pac-12 After Dark. I want to watch Arizona State, Oregon. Great game last year. But you've got the redshirt freshman quarterback that Herm got that upset Oregon. Mm-hmm. And that kid's money. He's a great football player. He's still a young football player. There's probably a question about consistency with him, but he's on the NFL radar.
Right.
He was on somebody's radar at Arizona State when he was playing in high school. And these kids need the platform. But they're not wrong in saying, you are making so much money off of us. You have more to kick back to us or put into a slush fund to help folks. And that's part of the argument that I can listen to. But when you're putting an edict out there, a flat out edict asking that the commissioner take a 50% pay reduction, and you're asking your coaches, while they make a ton of money, they're also fired in a year, and someone's writing a check to buy them out, Uncle Phil or whoever, right? You can't just from the mountaintop scream down, yeah, you're taking a 50% cut, and we want 50% of the revenue.
Right.
Great idea. Maybe that's your starting point. Something's better than nothing. But the thing to watch now, and this happened with Kane Coulter, his idea 7-8 years ago about unionizing. That's the next thing to watch, along with this potentially maybe breaking away from the NCAA.
Yeah.
Because you've got a new era of college athlete with the fact that they know that they're valuable, the fact that they know that they're intelligent, the fact that, and not that you guys didn't back when you played 15 years ago, but the horse is out of the barn here with
name and likeness.
Yes, and that's one thing that's been a concession. But now, if you've got players asking for more or their fair share, as they see it, or we don't play, I think the Pac-12 is going to be like, look, we hear you, and they have put a statement out. We're happy you've used your voice, and we're here to listen to you, but you're not going to get these demands met.
Well, it's unrealistic.
And they're going to move on.
Right.
Depending on who the kid is, from what school, they're going to move on.
Right.
Hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for your take. We're going to move on. And if you don't want to play, fine. We'll honor your scholarship. We'll put you on medical. If you don't feel safe, that's fine. But they're not going to win with this. It's out there now, and it's going to be talked about for 2 weeks, and it's probably going to jam things up moving forward with college football.
Yeah.
So the bottom line to me is this, Jay, and I'll shut up, is a player needs to go to his coach, his athletic director, and his chancellor and say, I'm in or I'm out. No judgment one way or the other, but he's got to make a decision. He or she needs to make a decision, and once that decision's made, you move forward.
Right. Correct. And that's what we've missed the whole time, is like someone setting a precedent and putting a line out there, like, hey, this is the line, man. Like, this is what we're operating at. If you like it, great. If you don't, hey, we're not holding against you. And that's what's interesting. So, like, in what is very interesting with the NFL right now, and just to dabble in this, we're not going to get in this at depth, but you hear the Patriots, they have like 6 players that don't want to participate. And you have
up to 9.
Yeah, up to 9 now. It is absolutely just being a part of that business for a handful of years. You know how crazy that business is, and then the whole stigma of that league is the next man up, and
especially with Belichick.
And even you want to talk about, listen, Wally Pipp. Let's just put that out there, all right?
Lou Gehrig.
Right. All right. Let's just put that out there. And how many times this is the whole scenario? If you don't. You sit out a game or whatever it is, and one guy comes in there and he performs. I just was talking with buddies before this. I go, you got to be crazy, all right? Unless you're that freaking good, you're that goddamn good that you can say, I can sit out a season. I know I'm going to have a spot next year. Like, that's like 5% of the league, in my opinion, all right? And you want to talk about economics? These owners are very, very smart. So let's just say, hey, we're paying you $4 million a year, but you want to sit out because you don't feel safe. Good, we'll grant you that. We'll pay you your whatever it is to sit out. Then we'll come in and bring a kid at league minimums, whatever league minimums are, $400,000 to $500,000. Hey, guess what? He did as good a job as you did.
See ya.
See you later, buddy.
And by the way,
see ya.
Well, there's a lot of guys that are opting out that are on short-term deals, and the NFL for once can't come back and collect that.
Right.
You've lived it
Right.
with the NFL and how cutthroat and chintzy they are.
Yeah.
Because it is a business, and they want to, they want to find Jay Moore in the 4th round, but they want to draft Jay Moore's replacement in the 6th round, and then wear you out with, again, the Wally Pipp side of things.
Right. And let's just put it out there. Capacity may not have anything, may have 20%, may have 30%, may have 40%. That revenue is gone. But granted, the NFL is still bringing in, they're still not struggling. These owners are, because
it's corporate dollars.
Well, but the money that's coming from the CBS, Fox, NFL Red Zone contracts, they're still, because you guess what, those people who aren't going to games are still clocking in, and they might be buying those Red Zone packages, whatever. The money is still there. They're not hurting, but that's an economic impact. And in this whole thing, economics are huge to this. And that's just kind of a little side road to all of this, how it is. But so we've hit on, NCAA, Power 5, Pac-12 situation going on because it just came out. That's very, very recent. Let's get into Nebraska, because that's obviously near and dear to our hearts, and that's when we discussed this, Hail Varsity. I mean, that's Nebraska. So, best case scenario for Nebraska going forward. Now and we're just going to put everything to the side. But football's going, whether it's September 5th or September 28th, whatever that date is, or whatever it is. Nebraska plays conference. Let's start with schedule. We'll kind of get into a few different things. But let's start with schedule. And we're going to assume that, obviously, they're going to play their 6 West games.
They'll move those up.
Those
will be priority.
Right. And then you're going to have Penn State, Ohio State, Rutgers.
And then you have to add one more.
You add one more. But what's the best case scenario for Nebraska in this whole situation? Because do you honor the West, because Ohio State came here last year. Do you go to Ohio State? We, did we go? Help me out here. We went to Iowa last year, or they came
They
here?
were here.
They were here. So, but then again, do you go to Rutgers? Just
I think
this.
I think they're going to do this. I think they're going to reshuffle the deck, and you're going to still play the West teams, and your West schedule I think will stay the same. It will just be moved up. So, do you open with Purdue? They're supposed to come to Lincoln because you were there last year. I think they will honor that, travel and infection rate permitting.
Whether or not September 5 or whatever. Do
you keep them there, or do you move Iowa up because they're 3.5 hours away via bus?
Right.
So does Nebraska, instead of opening with Purdue, they open with Iowa? Do they open with Minnesota? We don't know. If I look at record and numbers, and let's just go through the West. I mean, it's fair to say Nebraska could go 3-3. I think they're probably a better on paper team than Purdue. I think they're a better on paper team than Illinois. I think they're probably a better on paper team than Northwestern, but you're at Northwestern. Can you beat Minnesota? You've done it before, and you've gotten blown out by Minnesota. Coin flip. Wisconsin, they've owned you. But your offense does pose problems against Wisconsin. Nebraska's put up good yardage and not enough points, and they've not been able to stop Wisconsin. And then you get to Iowa. You've been a field goal away with two really pretty good Iowa teams. Iowa was 7 points from being undefeated last year when you look at their 3 losses. So I don't know that you go get Iowa and Iowa City this year. I think Wisconsin, you maybe inch a little bit closer to. I think you can beat Minnesota here. And then you need to beat Northwestern in Evanston. You need to beat Purdue, and you need to beat Illinois. So do you go 4-2 against the West? That's probably best case scenario. You could easily go 2-4. And then we talk about the 4 crossovers. Do you get Michigan? Do you get Michigan State? Do you keep Rutgers? Do you get Indiana again? Indiana and Nebraska are kind of in that same pick of 4th in the league, just behind really the top 3. I don't know what you do against Ohio State. You're going to see some kids start opting out.
Yeah.
You've seen it happen in the Pac-12, and if some dude's a first-round pick and the wrong guy's in his ear, I mean, let's rewind. Let's rewind it. Let's rewind.
This is really good. Yeah.
Let's rewind a year ago. Is Chase Young? Does he opt out a year ago? Or did Chase Young, in your opinion, blow up throughout last year? Kind of like Sue's senior year.
No, I mean, a little bit. So, this is what's crazy to me. So,
I don't think Ohio State's quarterback opts out. I don't think Trevor Lawrence opts out for Clemson.
I don't think anybody in Bama.
I
just don't know.
Saban will lose his mind. Kids won't.
Yeah, I just don't
play.
know of. I don't think there's that
sure.
There's that sure fire of people, to say, hey, my junior or sophomore year was that good to where I don't need to play.
Both quarterbacks, maybe.
Yeah, it's Trevor Lawrence,
Thibodeau from Oregon, maybe.
In Fields, but I don't.
Micah Parsons, Penn State.
No, I don't. And that's just the thing is, in this society, you have the agents talking to you, and misinterpretation of information or just the wrong information.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I was just talking with a guy who was in the police force here in Lincoln, and it's the excuse is COVID. Everyone has an excuse for this. If something's not going right, it's COVID. If it's I can't cross the street. You know why? Why? Because it's COVID. It's just the excuse, and that's kind of what you have is now. It's if you and again, if I was, listen, going into my senior year, if I would have been my pre-draft senior grade, would be hey, you're gonna be a top 15 pick, and this would come out, I would probably think very, very hard. Because why? Because here's the thing.
You already got the lottery ticket in your wallet.
Right. Here's the thing. Because you don't even know in this scenario, we don't even know if 10 games are even going to be played. Hell, we don't even know if 6 games are going to be played. So why waste it? Why risk an injury?
Yeah, why blow your knee out?
We're not even talking about COVID. COVID isn't even the issue. Why waste a few games and just have everything called off for that? I get it. Like I totally get it. I do. I just don't. I mean, I haven't been that in depth to the pre-draft, from Kuiper and
Sure.
Rick Shea and those guys. But again, it's like there's just no one that good. Like I can't think of anyone. Like there's just Trevor Lawrence and Fields.
Yeah.
And Justin Fields. Those are only 2 people. Like I was on with Pizzo. I'm like, those are the first 2 guys that came to my mind. And guys, there's no one at Nebraska. We know that. That's for sure. So like, it's a very interesting thing.
There's guys at the point right now that are trying to play their way into first day or second day.
Right. Guys, and listen, if you want to take the whole rosters of the Power 5 conferences, 99% of the guys need to have a senior season to play to better their draft stock.
Mm-hmm.
The other 1% might say, hey, we're good. I'm good. And I don't know the in-depth. I don't know the quarterbacks. I don't know all the D linemen. I don't know the linebackers. I don't know the wide receivers. I don't know the O-line. I know there's 2 damn good quarterbacks out there nationally that could say, screw it, I'm out, and they're getting paid. And that's about it. And I have a somewhat of a good idea who's out there, but I just don't know.
Those 2 guys aren't going to opt out.
They're not. I don't think you can. Because here's what is hard is too in this situation, and I don't think people understand as well. And I think this is getting into just the kind of guys they're dealing with. I couldn't imagine. This is kind of tugs at my heartstrings a little bit. You've grown the relationship with your players and coaches, and all of a sudden you're just to say, you know what, guys, I'm good. You just give them the big middle finger.
It's one thing to ditch a bowl game. It's another thing to ditch a senior season and leave early.
I couldn't have done that. I don't have the nuts. I don't have it. Like,
you're a we versus me guy.
Right.
That's why.
The relationships, and there's nothing like it going out on Saturdays and Sundays, whatever, and playing with your boys. There's nothing like it. I don't have that. I don't have that. I couldn't imagine. And I don't think whoever, I mean, there might be a select few, and granted, hey, good for you if you got it, but you got something else in you, you'll be able to say, you can just give the middle finger to, 120 guys on the roster, say, I'm good, because I'm going to get paid. You guys go do you. I'm going to do me. I'm good. And that takes, I couldn't do it.
There's very few guys that can go do that, can navigate it, and they're still accepted, right? I mean, they're just so good that we'll put up with him because he helps us win. With Nebraska, I mean, where are you at if they get 10 games in, I'm treating this year as developmental, and this is totally a cop-out. This is totally it sounds like a moral victory season, and that's not it. I want to see where this team's at with your boy Austin's offensive line. And I think Greg's a hell of a coach. And with a quarterback that's hungry, and with a running game, and with a receiving core that's got to get up to speed. It's not fair to say they're going to come in and be as productive or as good as Spielman.
Yeah.
But if you get a Warner back, you get a tight end working, you get Manning eased in, you get some of those redshirt guys that have speed to get comfortable and confident and let them work and block on the edge. Mm-hmm. Brother, I think they have the offense to do a lot of damage to a lot of teams if they take care of the football and they get a run game going. Defensively, I love the fact that they can, in waves, continue to bring in fresh bodies. Are you going to get more than X number of snaps from Daniels? Because when he's right, he's a difference maker. Is Stilly a guy that jumps into a guy that we both watched on a Friday night against Illinois, and the guy had 3 sacks? I'm like, damn, he's nice off the edge and he's just a sophomore. Where does he jump? I have no doubt he's going to put the work in and be there for you every down and give you every ounce he's got. But does he become a playmaker? Secondary, I'm good with. So I think no matter what the final score is at the end of this year, whether it's 2 games they get, maybe they get 10, learn how to finish or become a work-in-progress team where you're not blowing your own pinky toe off 3 or 5 times a season.
Right.
So whether that's under 500, at 500, or above 500, be the program that all right, once we move past this, thank God, and you look at 2021 or 2022, that's when you're poised to be in contention.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to think they'll be in contention this year, but man, they can throw some punches back versus last year where there's 3 or 4 games you walk away with going, man, Nebraska should have had that. Yeah. Nebraska could have been an 8-4 football team or a 7-5 team last year without their own screw-ups.
Yeah, 100%. It's just what's wild is.
Are you treating it developmental or not, or are you expecting brass tacks?
No,
give me a 6-4 season.
No, well, I think just going into this year, just what we're dealing with.
Guys need experience.
Yeah, what we're going into. So you looked at minus whatever, one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedules in all the nation with Nebraska. I was looking at 7-5 was best.
Sure.
For this football
based
team.
On the final 5, yeah.
Yeah, just based on and like I'm done drinking the Kool-Aid. Like the Kool-Aid's gone. Like this team needs to perform. They need to show results. I mean, Scott has. I mean, just dealing with this. I mean, first game here, it's thunderstorm. They can't finish. They get off. It's weird. You get off a weird.
A lot of bad luck.
Yeah. But last year again, they should have been 8-4, 7-5 at worst. I think the staff it's just dealing with the pressures, expectations. I think, and I can equate this to golf.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not expected to play well,
free money.
It's free. Like you can hit shots, you can make play calls. You can do certain things because you know what? If you don't pull it off, no one thinks you're supposed to.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, people expect you to do it. It gets a little bit harder.
Little pucker factor.
100%. Hey, I'm calling this home run shot. If it doesn't work, we're going to lose. Well, if we pull it off, we're going to win. It's like going for that par 5 and 2. If I pull this off, I might win this golf tournament. I'm going to get a birdie. I might make an eagle. But if I don't, I'm making 6 or 7. And that's going to be on the scorecard, and guess what? People realize that I should, So the expectations here are much higher, and they did not meet those expectations. I think the pressure factor, the pucker factor was here. Whether it was Scott, whether it was whoever it was, like 100%. Like it's hard. Like expectation factors at Central Florida is 1,000 times different than at Nebraska, and that's the way it is.
And it doesn't translate.
Right, and that's the way he wants it. 100%. If you ask Scott, like if he was right here, if he was playing at the country club right now, and we saw him on walking on 5, he'd be like, "How are expectations different than at Orlando versus Lincoln?" Not even comparable.
He's got his own expectations.
Right, and he does.
So high up,
right?
They're higher than any fan base.
And that's hard too. That's really hard to meet those, and it's tough. So you look at this year, and I look at the offense, and I say, you know what? They are finally geared because I always view how you are up front. And they are finally geared up front in that offensive line to do something. You want to go across the board, everyone has played very, very meaningful snaps. Hymas, you go across the board. I mean, everyone.
Yeah, Wilson or Hicks.
Yeah, like everybody. Everybody has played. You get the kid from Beatrice, I'm blanking on his name. Juergens. Finally gets year 2. You get everyone. You get
Farniok,
you get Farniok, you get the
Ben Hart's the
Ben
key,
Hart,
didn't he?
You get Ben Hart thrown in there, and he's got some meaningful snaps, and that's the beauty of it with the 4-game redshirt. You get guys who have thrown live bullet snaps, but they get the redshirt, and like they have it, like, and that's it. That how football's played. Your offensive line and your defensive line. It goes how your both sides of the ball go, how your front 5 or 4 play. And they finally have you know what? Yes, they have They have Omar Manning. They have Adrian Martinez, and they have Mills, and they have the skill. It's not, but they have the guys up front to finally do something. But are they going to be allowed to finally do something? That's what's frustrating.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about. We are talking as if they are, and yes, I think this year is finally what you're going to see offensively. And don't hold me to it, but I think it's finally you're going to see the offense get off to be able to do what you're seeing to similarities at Oregon, Central Florida.
Yeah.
Where they're off and running.
They'll score 40.
40 to 50 points, but the defense might give up 35.
That's just
the thing.
It. So how is Nebraska going to be in close games, Jay?
Yeah.
How is Nebraska going to be in close games?
And I look to so you, if you're good up front offensive line, yeah, but you look defensively. So you lose 3 guys who are in NFL camps up front. So you have guys like Steele, you have Jakeem Green, you have Ty Robinson, you have. Help me out here on some other guys. I mean, you got
Damian Daniels.
Yeah.
You're going to have DeAndre Thomas.
Yes.
You're going to have the option with the 2 kids, Wilderman.
Yeah. And you have, there's guys who have been here that need to step up.
It's their time.
Right. Like, they got to step up, like, get off the bottle. Like, it's time to show up and play. Like, they've been on it way too long. And then you have, finally, linebacker crew.
You got options.
You have options. And you have the inside guys, Colin Miller, Honus.
Healthy Honus.
Plenty of snaps. No excuses. You've played enough. You've played enough to not have any excuses. Outside-wise, Caleb Tanner, hey, you're going to third year, time to show up. Make something happen. Who's the other outside guy? I don't know.
You got JoJo. You got...
But JoJo, that's too much. I think JoJo's not your guy. I think JoJo's a dime...
He's a hybrid.
Yeah. When he's performed very, very well. He's great in that situation. He's going to be great against spread guys. But, hey, when you go play Wisconsin, JoJo's not a factor. Because a personnel factor. It's just...
He ain't going to hold up against a tackle and a tight end.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Unless, Duvall's gotten him like at 250, but I don't think JoJo performs well at 250.
Yeah.
So, but secondary-wise, hey, you got Boodle, you got William, a lot of guys back there, like, that might be your strength, your defense. But again, what are you up front? So, can you hold up? I don't know. And I just hope, and I know we're assuming that 10 games will be played, and whatever it is, and I hope they can hold up, and I hope that there's a Big Ten championship. I don't even know if there'll be bowl games played. I don't know.
I think if you get through 10 games, you're going to have a college football playoff, and you're going to have some of your New Year's Day 6.
Yeah, you'll have the sugar, you have the orange, you'll have the Fiesta.
Rose. You'll have the big ones, and then you'll have your other
citrus.
Yeah,
you'll
have your other matchups that tie in Power 5 games. Power 5 matchups between the conferences, because again, it's revenue, it's TV money, that's part of the package.
Yeah. Frost has got everything geared up. I think Adrian, going to his year 3, I've said year 3 is the most important spot for any player. Whether it's Adrian, whether it's Dedrick Mills, whether it's Hymus, whether it's, Honus, Colin, and those guys are going to their 4th year. Some of them are, it's just, you got to make moves at that time, and he has that. But offensively, this team is geared up to make some moves, even though they're shorthanded at wide receiver. I get it, but it's
well, the receiving part is interesting, because there's a healthy Warner, and for the offense to be good, you're going to need Cade Warner as a factor, because he is like he is a security blanket, man. He's easy Ed McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. He's easy Ed on 3rd and 8, gets to the sticks, first down. He's all reliable. So you need him healthy, and that's a trust branch you have with Adrian and Warner. But then you still got Wandale that is just, God, he's going to be so much fun to watch for a second year, just being able to focus on one thing and not getting the hell beat out of him with carries, or that volume of carries. And then you've got a guy like Manning that I think they're going to ease in, and he's going to have to go win the spot, even though he's an incredible athlete. So what can you get out of him? You got your redshirt cats that are talented, but they need reps. That's what Lubick was talking about. So, and you can speak to this, just how some guys, when they get that chance to shine, run with it, or it's still a work in progress and maybe they're a year away. That's how I look at this year. How many guys take it and run with it versus how many guys have to ease in and adapt to, all right, you're the starter now. How do you perform your first time as a starter?
Right.
Like, and I think about you, like your junior, senior year. Like your junior year is really good. Go to your senior year though, and you killed it. Your first time as a starter, you played a lot as a sophomore too. But I'm saying that progression, and it just takes some guys longer than others to just kind of hit the ground running and kill it.
Yeah. Well, I just view it as a whole, staff down. It's interesting to see, like, how do you approach it? Like, do expectations? That's just the crazy thing, because it's just with the limited amount. You got no spring ball. Yes, they've gone through a little mini camps and stuff, but like, how do you approach this? Because
that's big for me with no spring ball,
right.
with no development phase. This team needed it as much or more than about anybody in the country in the Power 5.
Do you tiptoe into this, or are you able to
deep
go,
into
hey,
the pool?
Yeah, like, or hey, here you go. Can you tread water? Like, that's and that's
you got to know
the beauty of it. But the cool thing is every other team in the nation is dealing with this as well. Granted, Ohio State,
Clemson, Bama,
and that's maybe it. Like, that's just what we could be dealing with is,
everybody's on the same page.
So and so's this, so and so's that. When are you getting this? You got the scheduled weekends. The times off to help if so and so does get sick, and he's able to sit out, or guess what? Ohio State's playing Michigan and Justin Fields can't play. Or Adrian Martinez in Nebraska is playing Iowa and he can't play. Like, that's just because, and it's not because he's hurt, because he has like, it's just what we're dealing. That's just, this might be,
what's your depth like, right?
Or if we're able to play, like, what does, and it's just, what does, I mean, McCaffrey's there, and you have the kid from Alabama, and like, what does your red shirts look like this year? If they play, are they able to, you probably still have the 4 games, but like, it's the craziness, you just look at it all. I mean, you could look at we've discussed it. I mean, we've discussed it 4 different ways, and I'm like, well, what about this? Then what about that? And that's what's crazy about it all, and that's what's interesting and maddening, and like, just drives you nuts about what we could be dealing with this fall.
The unknown. But let's hope there's football. And I do 1,000% care about the health and safety of the kids. And if they look their coach in the eye and say, I want to play, they should be able to play.
Yep, I totally agree. And I hope everyone can come to agreement. And I hope, 30 days, I mean, from now, we have football or not, or maybe it's 45 days from now.
Let's kick off the season with Ohio State, Michigan. Make sure it gets in.
Why not? Hell, Big Ten. Listen. I mean, that's the crazy thing. Like, the big games, and it's just, everyone is. You said it. You're getting tossed in the deep end. There's no Nebraska, South Alabama.
No, there's no easy.
There's no Ohio State.
And it wasn't going to be that way anyway with Purdue coming to town.
But there's none of that. That's the way it is, and that's the way the NFL is. You go in week 1, and it's like, hey, you're playing a team of 53 grown-ass men. So this is the way, and this is the way for everyone. So I don't know if we hit every topic on the head, buddy.
That was good.
It was good.
Fun
I
shot,
don't
man.
know.
Nice evening. I appreciate it.
It was great. Thanks for joining me. We tried to put our two heads together and address it all. We gave you guys a good hour of content. We thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the More to It podcast. I am the host, Jay Moore, as usual. And thank you to my man, Chris Schmidt, for joining me for
Jay
a
Bird,
good... Yeah, man.
appreciate you, brother.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, man.
We'll talk to you guys next week.